Brought to you in part by Monadnock Flooring and Decorating, offering quality sales, service, and installation for over 35 years on Production Avenue next to Subaru of Keene. Hey everybody, welcome to A Culinary Journey. I'm Luca and today my show is about 3 entrees I serve on my dinner menu that I absolutely love and I want you to make at home because they're that easy. One's a pork scallopini with port wine, not portobello, but there's a lot of mushrooms going on. So let's say pork scallopini with port wine and button mushrooms and a little cream sauce. Incredible. Then we're going to do chicken breast, and it's going to be the whole chicken breast with a little bit of the wing bone attached. And we're going to be doing that with like a Saltimbocca sauce, which has sage and prosciutto in it. Love that one with a little marsala, and finish that with butter. And then beef tenderloin medallions, one of Lee's favorites. I got to go there for Lee. Some beef tenderloin medallions with a simple portobello mushroom, fire roasted tomatoes, and baby spinach kind of melted together to make this amazing vegetable mixture in the middle of your beef. You're going to absolutely love that. I have my meats ready, my vegetables ready, my pan's ready, and guess what? Your culinary journey starts now. Hey everybody, welcome back to A Culinary Journey. Let me tell you about what we're doing. We're going to be doing 3 different entree dishes that are from my menu. So there's a little bit of preparation involved, and we'll kind of do a couple of them together at the same time. Or does that mean the same thing? Anyway, we'll do them together at the same time, and we'll get it by the end of this. We'll have 3 beautiful dishes. Now, I want to start with getting my chicken kind of searing, because what I'm using with the chicken breast is right off the whole chicken. I put a little bit of herbs already on it, but I'm going to stuff this also a little bit. So with the whole chicken, what I'm doing is I took the breast off the chicken, kept the wing bone on, just because more for appearance, and I kept the skin on because underneath that skin, I had some fresh parsley that I just sprinkled on there. I'm also going to add some sage to that. So I'm going to add a couple of sage leaves underneath the chicken. And the dish with the chicken I'm doing is Saltimbocca inspired. Saltimbocca is an Italian dish. Usually it started off with veal, and it was veal pounded with prosciutto and sage, and those are your 2 major ingredients. Now with sage, you got to be careful. You don't want to use too much because that actually has a really powerful effect on the food. It's really strong in flavor. But when I put it under the skin, what it's going to do is infuse its flavors into the chicken, and at the same time, it'll infuse flavors but not be overpowering. You're going to love this. It's just going to come out wonderful. I'm going to salt and pepper the outside of this, right? Because I want to get my skin nice and crispy. Put a little oil in our pan here. Ta-da, a little bit of oil in the pan. And we'll heat that up. And then that's going to start our chicken. Now this is going to take a little bit longer than when we do our meats, so I want to start cooking that now. So let's get the chicken, as the tenderloins on the other side, and we're going to get a nice sear on that. Now I pounded it out just a little bit, so it's not too fat. This is from about a 3-pound chicken that I broke this down from. And I'll show you, I think I've had other shows before, and we'll do another one if we have to, on fabricating a chicken or breaking down a whole chicken so you can get different incredible parts to it. All right, so let's turn this down a little bit. We're going to get that skin nice and crispy. We're going to flip it over. We'll create the sauce right in the pan, which is really cool. And then I'm going to season the other side to start that off. All right, that's our first thing. The other thing I want to get started is for our beef. Now, I keep talking we're going to do this pork, but I want to get certain things done. It's marinating my portobello mushrooms. Now, I'm going to take the gills off the mushrooms. There's certain times where I say, you know what, if it's part of the mushroom already, don't take it off. But I want a nice clean dish, and what we do at the restaurant is we clean off the gills of the mushrooms, and that's the brown part, the inside brown part. So I want to get a nice clean mushroom effect here. Now, I'd never get rid of anything from a mushroom. You add this to water and you make a nice mushroom stock. If you have stems, you puree that and add to water, you make a nice mushroom stock. Perfect for a soup. And then we're going to cut these really thin because this is going to be part of our dish later on where we'll cook it down. But we want to marinate these first in a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, cold. Now, what's great, if you did this for a couple of days, if you marinated under extra virgin olive oil your mushrooms raw, they would actually kind of start breaking down, much like the cooking process would break them down. But what you can do is then use them for a sandwich or a salad, and you never had to cook them, they come out amazing. And we actually do this on a sandwich too at the restaurant. So we'll add that there. I'll take my extra virgin olive oil, and we'll put a good amount on there. Now don't worry about the amount of olive oil you use when you do something like this because you can reuse it. That olive oil is a great salad olive oil. It just has some of that mushroom flavor in there. All right, we're going to put that aside because it'll be ready for us to use near the end of the show, but it also works out great later on for a sandwich or anything else, and you could do it up to 2 or 3 days, and it'll stay there for about a week before you have to worry about it. And I keep it refrigerated. All right, so we got our chicken cooking, got our portobello mushrooms. Now I want to get started on our pork scallopini. This is the quickest by far of the 3 dishes we're making because pork scallopini cooks really quickly. Now the only thing that's stopping it from cooking is our pan lighting up. Now what I've done with pork scallopini, they're pork loins, and if you've seen me do shows before, you know these are one of my favorite dishes because what I could do is take a pork loin, which is relatively inexpensive, and then cut a nice big piece off of it and pound it out so thin that it comes out to almost like a veal medallion. And when I say they're not only inexpensive, they're really quick to cook. So this is what we're going to do, right? We get some salt and pepper in our flour. We'll mix that up just a little bit. And that's seasoning our flour, so we're going to be dredging with that. We'll get a little oil in the pan because these will cook very, very quickly. All right, so get a little oil in the pan. We dredge our pork scallopini in the flour. This is to protect the meat as well as to help us with our sauce later. And we knock off any excess, and hopefully we're hot enough. We're almost there. Now what I'm doing is just dropping some of the flour. If it bubbles up, I should get a nice sizzle. Sometimes I was wrong. So give that a second. You wait a second. Sometimes I get impatient. All right, so while we're waiting for my pan to heat up, which will be seconds away, we're going to get my mushrooms ready for the portobello mushroom, for the pork scallopini. So let's kind of, because we're jumping around, I want to make sure everyone's on board with the flavors we're doing here. The pork scallopini are going to get mushrooms, port wine, and a cream sauce. The chicken is going to get marsala wine, sage, and prosciutto. The beef is going to get portobello mushrooms, fire roasted tomatoes, and baby spinach. Everybody go with that? You guys are in the audience are go with that? Because if I forget, I need your help, okay? So, all right, I think my pan is going to be ready. And let me get that in there again. Oh, much better. We're getting a little bit of a sizzle. And basically, I want to pan sear the pork. All right? I want that to get a nice sear. Now, you see how thin these are, right? 2 things. You can overcook and dry out these scallopini very, very quickly if you're not careful. What I like doing is searing one side and searing the other. Just get a nice quick sear. And we're talking about probably a minute on each side because that's going to cook it enough. I'm not trying to caramelizing. I'm not trying to crisp up. There's no skin here. I don't want to do any of that. All I want to do is get the pork cooked, and it'll cook all the way through, and then ready for when I'm going to add my sauce in there. So just get another second on that side. We'll do all 4 of these. So this is where we're at right now. I got chicken cooking, which I'll flip over in a second. I got the pork that I'm cooking here. I'm going to prepare my mushrooms for the scallopini. When we come back, we'll put together at least a pork dish with a little bit of asparagus. Easy way to prepare asparagus without the whole blanching and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll come back, we'll get all that done, get the pork dish done, get our chicken to our next stage, and start working on the beef. Stay tuned because you want to see how this ends, and you want to make one of these dishes because they're simple, they're fun, and you're going to love it. So don't go away. I'll be right back. Hey everybody, welcome back to A Culinary Journey. So we have it going on. I got my chicken cooking, just flipped it over. I finished my pork. And now I want to make the pork sauce for the scallopini, okay? So now what I'm doing is I kept the base of this sauce. It's called the fond, right? Right on the bottom here is where a lot of that flour and the salt and pepper and pieces of pork and some pork fat, they just got really caught up in the bottom of this. And that is awesome, because that's just going to intensify the flavors we have. Whenever you could work with one pan, what you're doing is keeping flavors you've already incorporated into that, and then you're adding more to it. So you really have a base of flavors, and you season along the way. Now I've added salt and pepper to a flour to our pork, but then I'm also going to do another pinch to the mushrooms that are cooking. I'm also going to add some shallots to this, because I love working with shallots. And if you haven't worked with shallots, I'm telling you, if you get a chance to, throw some shallots into your next saute dish or anything like that. You'll love the way they taste. Some people say this, that kind of right in the middle of garlic and onions. I just think it's a lighter flavor than an onion, but it adds so much flavor to a dish. And ever since we've added shallots to what we've cooked growing up, I'm just finding just more depth overall. So we're going to add a little bit of shallots to our mushrooms. We're going to let those cook down. Now this sauce is pretty quick. They've been salt and peppered, shallots. I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. Again, don't add your garlic in too soon. And throw it on top of some type of product that's in there, so that way it doesn't hit the hot oil. All right? And then port wine. Now, with any type of flammable wines, which are the kind of fortified wines, ports, Madeiras, Marsalas, you're going to get a lot of flame up if you're not careful. So the best way to do that is take your hot pan, pour the amount of port wine, maybe about a little more than close to a half a cup, a little less than half a cup, a third, let's say. Get it in there, incorporate everything together, pull it over the stove, bring it back down. Because if you don't do that, what you do is you tip it over, and that's when you get the little flambe going, right? All right. That's only great if you're at a fine dining restaurant, your tableside service, or not my house, because I don't want you to burn it down. So I'm bringing that down. Now I have the port wine. That kind of sweetness is going to get into the earthy mushrooms and bring this whole sauce together. We're going to finish it off with a touch of cream. That's going to be our kind of binder for this whole sauce, all right? Over here, let's check out our chicken, because this is cooking up nicely. We're getting it, cooking it through, and we're going to actually let it finish into the sauce too. So we cooked our chickens. We're pan roasting them instead of popping them in the oven. They are a little bit thicker. If you want to make this dish quicker, pound it out thin like our scallopini. And if you pound out thin like our scallopini, the chicken, you can make this dish just as fast as we're making the pork scallopini. All right, the only thing I'm going to add to this is a little bit of cream. All right, and that's going to bring this whole thing together. That port wine's a little bit on the sweet side. If you don't like sweet sauces, go with a regular red wine or something like that. But the cream is actually going to bring that sauce down and kind of bring it back down to earth. And it's not overly sweet. It's going to play it off and kind of give it more of a, what's the best way to put it? Level the playing field, so not make it overly sweet. It's great to use also when you're doing, let's use this for this dish. This is going to be for our beef. We'll get that started. Great to use when you're doing spicy dishes, because the cream really acts well against the spice. All right, so we have our mushroom sauce coming down, which is going to be a perfect sauce in no time. Let's start adding our sauces to our chicken, and then when we come back, we can do all of our beef in a matter of seconds. So what I want to add to our chicken is our prosciutto in the bottom of the pan. We're going to add some shallots. Let's shut this pork off because it's going to be ready. Again, I'm going to cut them this way. I could chop them up either way. Could chop them up fine, julienne. It depends on what kind of texture you want to put in there. Really doesn't matter, because they're going to cook down and they're going to be beautiful to the sauce. Look at that. All right, we'll knock that out. We'll get that into there. A little bit on either side. All right, and now the chicken is going to get some Marsala wine added to its love. So we'll take that off the same way. We'll add our Marsala wine, and that's going to give us some really nice flavor in there, a little sweetness again. Put it on the top, and we're going to let that reduce. So we're going to let that reduce. We're going to let the pork come together. As we do this whole thing, when we get back, I'll start working on the beef. We'll plate up the pork. Don't forget those asparagus. We've got some mashed potatoes to go underneath it. We're going to have all three of our dishes together, in our next segment, and you're going to absolutely love it. So do not go away. When you come back, we'll start on the beef tenderloin, and I'll cook one rare for Lee, too. See you in a minute. Hey everybody, welcome back to A Culinary Journey. Okay, we're going to wrap this whole thing up, bring it all together, right? In the back here, I'm going to start my asparagus. I'm going to put a little bit of oil back in that pan. Now, there are two ways to think about how you cook vegetables. I like to say there's a French way and there's the Italian way. I don't know if that's actually true. It's just the way I grew up learning it from my grandmother. Italian way is most vegetables are sautéed as is, unless you have something really, really dense, maybe like a root vegetable, whatever, that you might want to cook first or boil or par cook and then finish off in the oven. But I love sauteing everything from scratch, even root vegetables. I cut them up small enough I could cook anything sauteed, a sweet potato, what have you. And basically you're not losing any of the nutrients and of the flavor into water or anything like that because you're boiling it. So let's say you're making broccoli. Pan roasted broccoli is delicious. It gets a little more depth of flavor, really pops. You'll enjoy it. Especially with asparagus, especially if it's not a really fat stalk, which you'll find later in the season. But if you get early enough in the season, you have the thinner stalks, and even thinner than this, a quick saute will bring out all the flavor, and you don't have to do anything extra. So what I do when I get it a little bit thicker than this, I'll even cut them in half so they're easy to saute. So we have oil, we have asparagus. Does it get easier than that? Pinch of salt and pepper. Maybe give it a little bit of Ariosto love, which is our Italian spice blend. And then we'll get back to that in a minute, all right? Hopefully that'll be ready in the time we needed. Should have started a little earlier, but heck, I've done crazier things. The pork, and I'm not going to have the asparagus for the pork yet, but what I'm going to do is kind of do a little flip here. I'm going to get this pan here, so I want to get it hot for my beef, if that ever turns on. And I'm going to get this pan hot for my ingredients that are going on the beef. Look at that. And then the pork I threw back into the pan. I'm going to get a little bit of the sauce on it, put it over our mashed potatoes. And these scallopini look big, they're beautiful, they're presentable. And look at that sauce on the pork too. It just came out really nice where you get this kind of finish to it from the cream. Now, these two I'm going to save for me later, and then we'll just put a little bit, whoa. Let's do this. Let's do a little bit of sauce right on there. And you could add maybe a little bit of fresh parsley into the pan when you're finishing up, or you could garnish with a little fresh parsley, whatever you like. We're going to add the asparagus to that, all right? So let me just check it out, make sure. That's pretty good. So it's got this kind of natural sweetness to it. And then it kind of finishes off with the earthiness of the mushrooms. You will absolutely love it. All right, over here, let's get our beef cooking. And let's take a look at our chicken, because our chicken's also kind of ready to finish. The chicken's cooked. Our sauce has gotten a little bit dry. This is where we add the final ingredient for this dish, which is just a touch of butter. Now we have Marsala wine in there. We have, our asparagus is sounding nice. Marsala wine in there. We have our shallots that got caramelized with the wine. We have sage underneath the skin, just incredible. And then I'm finishing this sauce with a butter. So I'm doing sauces two different ways. Now we got these pans piping hot. We got to add these next ingredients. Ready for this? Here, a little bit of oil in here. And this is going to be sizzling in a second. We're going to salt and pepper our beef. Now I've had the beef out most of the show because I do like to take any type of meats and bring them closer to the room temperature before we cook them. Okay, these are going to sear nice and heavy. Get a sear on that side. And I really want that smoke. I want to get a nice little sear, but I'm going to take it off, and we're going to get almost like a crust on the outside of the beef. And we'll put some on this side, these two. Oh, and this is Lee's. Okay, that's cooked. No, we'll have to cook that just a little bit longer. All right, I pulled it off because that pan is screaming. It's perfect for what I want to do. And we're going to shut that down. We're going to bring it back to the heat in a second. It's going to get us a really well-cooked beef tenderloin medallion. Now, on our chicken over here, what's great about this is now all I do, and I could do it right off the heat, I kind of let the butter melt, or monte burro, or mounting butter, into the sauce, and it actually creates a sauce of its own. Look at that. I don't know, you'll catch it from the overhead, but you definitely, as it breaks down, the butter breaks down into the sauce, it creates a full sauce. So now, I take that dish, take one of the chicken off of here, right there, and check out this sauce. I'm going to turn this around just a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. And there you go. There's a nice quick sauce, beautiful butter sauce for that dish. All right? 2. Whew. Told you, this gets crazy. So I got 2 sauces, two meats. Let's take a look at the amazing crust we've gotten started on our beef. Oh, yeah. All right, look at that. We got a crust on one side. And now our asparagus has a nice little dark color, caramelized on one side. I'm flipping them over. They're going to be done by the time we're ready for this next part. What I'm doing here is for my beef. I have fire roasted tomatoes. You could use sun-dried tomatoes if you like. I have the mushrooms with the olive oil and some baby spinach. And we're going to let that cook up for our beef. Take a breath, relax, enjoy your beautiful presentation here. We're going to salt and pepper that. All right. Get our asparagus with our chicken and our pork. These dishes are easy. If you're concentrating on one dish at a time, it comes out a lot easier. What happens is at the restaurant, we don't have that opportunity. We definitely have to make 2 or 3 of these at a time, and it's incredible how we could get that all done. Last dish. This one, I like to tower up together. Now, I'm going to let the other piece cook a little bit longer, but Lee and I like ours rare, so this one is just about ready for us. We're going to have a little bit of asparagus down at the bottom of the plate. 1 beef tenderloin on top. Let's get our little mixture here of mushrooms. And this is not a sauce by any stretch of the imagination. I take the take the spinach, I wilt it down. I'm going to just flip these 2 saute pans. Take the spinach, I wilt it down. The fire roasted tomatoes are already roasted. You could use sun-dried tomatoes for this. What I'll do is we'll do another show. I'll do some fire roasting of tomatoes. But you could take this amazing dish, and it just has such a beautiful look. Put everything on top of each other. All right, what do you guys think? This is pretty incredible. And there's our final dish. Not bad. All right, 3 dishes, half hour. You could do one, take your time, spend a little bit of time, cook your beef a little bit more. Pork scallopini, one of the quickest things you could do at night at home. And then the chicken itself with this beautiful butter sauce. 3 dishes, 3 completely different sauces. Heck of a lot of fun. I hope you had a good time. I had a blast. And I'll see you next time on A Culinary Journey. Brought to you in part by Monadnock Flooring and Decorating, offering quality sales, service, and installation for over 35 years on Production Avenue next to Subaru of Keene.